All right, I'm going to talk about Neptune and Pisces. So I have my notes here because I've been thinking about this topic a lot and just how a transit can have a lot of influence on society. So one, this is not the only transit going on right now, but Neptune has been in Pisces since 2011. So I definitely would encourage people to look at their transit chart and see where Neptune and Pisces is right now in your chart. In my house, in mine, it's in my 7th house. So whatever area of your life Neptune and Pisces is in, it's the area of your life that hasn't been too tough. It's the area of your life where maybe things have been more accommodating, more gentle. It's not like Pluto or Saturn energy. And so you can benefit from this energy because it allows you to kind of have a pleasant experience with whatever area of the house that is. But it also can allow illusion. It can allow dreaming. It can allow you to sometimes not see reality. So that is sometimes where you'll see situations change for somebody right after a long transit leaves that house. Now all of a sudden you have a different type of outlook and experience. So Neptune deals with ideas, inspirational, spiritual ideas, illusions, dreams, fantasy, dreams. It is the 12th house rules Neptune. So it's where we go, where we want to be away from everything. Escapism, compassion is Neptune. Now we put Neptune in Pisces, a sign it rules, the traditional ruler of Pisces with Jupiter. But we put Neptune in Pisces and now we have this kind of compassionate energy. Again, look at your own chart to see where the transit is. I'm talking about how this is affecting society. Now, first I wanted to talk about cancel culture. So what I first want to say is cancel culture, when I'm kind of being very Virgo-ish and being critical about these things and not just going off of emotion, I do want to start this by saying, we definitely can cancel people who are physically, mentally, emotionally harming someone or harming someone's image. Anyone who's bullying, harassing, threatening harm, actually threatening, anyone who's a predator, anyone who is, taking advantage, exploiting, disrupting someone's quality of life, promoting hate, promoting violence against people, being violent, taking away someone's quality of life is canceled. We cancel that, right? I don't think that's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about those cut and dry, like you're disrespecting someone's existence or you are causing someone harm in some way, shape, or form. We cancel those folks, right? But cancel culture has become kind of loose because Neptune and Pisces is not rigid energy. And so again, I want us to understand, even my own horoscopes that I post, you'll see that I talk about all the major transits. I'm only talking about Neptune and Pisces right now. Okay. And this is my take on it. There's different ways you can interpret this. This is what I'm personally saying and what I'm sharing. You can have whatever thoughts you want to have. So first of all, I want to start. Let's rewind a little bit. Before Neptune was in Pisces, it was in Aquarius. Now, Aquarius is the sign of the individual, unique. The interesting thing about Aquarius energy is Aquarius is linked to groups, but it's linked to groups and friendship because it kind of stirs things up. Aquarius is an air sign. So here we're thinking about they're different. So a lot of times when you see an Aquarius person, they're not afraid to be a little bit different. There's something about them where it's like they're not afraid now to stand out. Why? Because there's already that kind of rebellious streak in them, even if they're not a hardcore rebellion type of person. So Neptune was in Aquarius, meaning people had a little bit more of their own free-spirited style. If you look back to the trends prior to 2011, 2010, we go back to 2008, 2007, 2006, you start to see there's a different type of energy there. It was cool to be different, when I look back, and even though there's always been trends, obviously, right? You've always had, if you look back to any time in history, there's always been trends. So I don't want to sit here and say Neptune and Pisces is the only one that's a trend, but Neptune and Pisces is the only one, not the only one, but it's one where we're seeing a lot of just idealism of what people are supposed to look like, and it's really not grounded in reality in some ways. And so we know back in the 30s they had the flappers, or the 20s. I'm gonna look that up. I think it was the 30s. Back in the day, a lot of African American men wore the zoot suits. Okay, let me look. Flappers. Oh, 1920s. Okay. Because, I have to get my facts right. I'm a Virgo. I can't just be telling you stuff and not I'm talking about. We had hippies in the 60s. Bell bottoms were in the 70s. You've always had baggy pants were in the 90s. You've always had these trends. But Neptune Aquarius was a little bit different, where people accepted people's differences a little bit more. And though we think that we're moving to being more progressive in society, we're actually requiring people to think the same and be the same. Again, my disclaimer in the beginning was already, we're not supporting people who are mentally, emotionally, or physically harming other people, other groups of people, targeting people. We're not talking about that. We know we can cancel that. We know that anyone who is denying you your voice, denying you your opportunity to be who you are, we know that, anyone who's like threatening other people and being just, confrontation, we already know about that. So transit energy is not always the same. Things ebb and flow. So when we got Neptune in Pisces, that's what you started to see. Now, I won't say Neptune in Aquarius is where you really saw the makeup industry, the YouTube, because I remember, because I used to watch it before YouTube was as huge. You think back to the mid thousands, that was different. Like all the makeup YouTubers, yeah, there was a lot of them, but it was different. Like it was a lot of makeup artists experimenting. If you look back to that time when makeup YouTubers became big, it was experimental. Now everybody has the same makeup, the same exact makeup. No, people are afraid, especially when they're famous or they have a platform, to look different. People are afraid to do that.
All right, so this is the transit chart. We're going to look at this big outer ring right here. The small ring is the natal chart because we're focusing on a transit chart. So in this software, when you draw a transit chart, it blows that up, and then the natal chart becomes a little bit smaller because we're not focusing on the natal chart right now. So Neptune is 20 degrees Pisces in the third house right now for the U.S., and so that's interesting to me. We're talking about Neptune and Pisces, and we're talking about idealism, and we're talking about imagination, and we're talking about this light, fluffy, compassionate type of energy. And it's not so much that everybody is light and fluffy and compassionate, but I think there is some focus and there is some kind of emphasis on idealism right now. Now, also there's some focus on spirituality right now, where a lot more people are getting into spirituality, which is the Neptune and Pisces placement, right? Now, the third house is the house ruled by Mercury, and it deals with communication. It's also into early childhood experiences, short-term travel, early life, siblings, communication, learning. It's basically the house where we learn, right? And that's why it's one of the first couple of houses. And so what we'll see here is I'm seeing this trend of there is a certain level of people focusing more on that compassionate type of stuff in communication. Now, this does not mean everybody is compassionate. If we had a transit in the U.S. with Neptune and Pisces in the first house of identity, you might see people actually embodying that. The third house is just about learning or communicating something. So you might see more of an emphasis of people talking about self-care, talking about healing, right? You have so many posts about healing, and now everybody wants to talk about this because the third house is also where you go to talk to people that are like-minded. You talk to people that you know. Okay, and so that you have similarities to. So the third house, Neptune and Pisces, is also, this wave of spiritualism where a lot more people now are getting involved than before, it seems, in many ways, to topics on spirituality or tarot cards, astrology, crystals, readings, and just this, esoteric type of stuff in general. You're seeing a lot more mainstream companies doing this as well in order to match that interest people have. Now, the interesting thing about this placement is I would definitely look at where Neptune and Pisces is in your birth, in your not your birth chart. Well, you can, but in your transit chart, because that's going to be the area of your life where you're the most idealistic right now, is wherever Neptune and Pisces is. And in your particular transit chart, it's going to be different. Now, Neptune is in Pisces right now in everyone's transit chart, even if your birth chart is not Neptune and Pisces, right? So for instance, my Neptune is in Capricorn in the 4th house in my birth chart. But right now, Neptune is in Pisces in the 7th house in my transit chart. So that is a layer over what's already there. The interesting thing about the 3rd house, though, is the 3rd house is important. I have placements in the 3rd house as well. It's this learning, this communication piece. But the 3rd house is not necessarily always where we master things. Right? So like right now, with people getting more interested in spirituality, the question you're going to see several years down the line when Neptune and Pisces leaves is, did it stick? Are these people who are interested in spirituality, is it a part of their life, or is it just a phase? Because transits can bring phases. So here's what I mean. If Neptune was in Pisces in the 9th house, that's the opposite house of the 3rd house. Jupiter rules the 9th house. So now we're talking wisdom. We're talking expansion of ideas. We're talking practicing. We're talking teaching. We're talking having that direct fire intellectual energy. You see what I'm saying? Most people are kind of, and I'm not saying everybody, because there are people who've already been into spirituality. There are people who are into it now who are going to continue to be into it for the rest of their lives because they've seen the benefit it has. My point is, we also have to be aware that this growing interest in spirituality, for some people, it is going to be a phase, because the 3rd house is where we go to learn. We're just picking things up. With 3rd house, we haven't mastered anything yet. All of the first couple of houses are super important, but because of the first, it's that foundational type of energy, right? We have foundational fire, foundational earth, foundational air, foundational water. It's very foundational level. It's pure and it's raw energy, and that's why so many people are interested, and people are building little communities of their interest. So I just wanted to share that transit right here. Again, as you can see, there's other transits as well, but I want to talk in particular about this Neptune and Pisces. Now, the farther Neptune goes into Pisces, the effect of it's going to wear off a little bit. Okay, so for instance, we're at 20 degrees now. Because Neptune moves so slow, it takes a while for that degree to speed up. Whereas the moon changes every 2 to 3 days. Right? So Neptune is in Pisces, and by tomorrow, that 9 might be 27. Whereas this is going to stay 20, and then it's going to slowly move up until it gets to 29 before it moves into the next phase. Okay?
I had to turn my fan on, so if you hear noise, I'm sorry. I'm going to talk loud enough. So now in makeup trends, it's a lot about illusion. It's not about enhancing. And again, I'm not judging people for what they choose to do. Some of it looks good, but a lot of it is like exaggerate yourself. And think about Neptune and Pisces. Pisces is about exaggeration in a way, not in a Sagittarius type of way, right? Because mutable signs can distort information, especially Pisces, Sag, Gemini. Can distort information. Virgo's Earth, so it's a little bit more, analysis and critical and things like that. Now, exaggerating and being able to blow things up is not a bad thing, because you see a lot of this can help in their messaging. So it's not a bad thing, but it's just a thing. All right. Beauty standards started to change. Neptune and Pisces is now you have everybody has the same look. Idealism. Neptune and Pisces energy does kind of focus on this concept of beauty, but also remember Pisces energy is about this kind of acceptance of it as well. But you have to also understand, like, it exaggerates things. Neptune is about illusions. And so that's why we're seeing a lot of this. We're not Neptune and Aquarius where people we're not afraid to be different. Now, you do have some famous people. You have people who just do what they need to do. But usually when you see high profile people, everyone kind of looks the same. Neptune and Aquarius kind of is that energy of Neptune and Pisces, illusion. And this is where a lot of people are concerned. We're not accepting what's real anymore. That's Neptune and Pisces energy, guys. When you're like, wait, why can't we accept natural beauty? Or why can't, and again, why isn't there room for everything? Why are we expecting everyone to look like a doll, right? Why are we mad because somebody doesn't, wear a lot of makeup? Or why are we mad this person doesn't look perfect and like I want them to? It's that Neptune and Pisces energy, I think. And energy is contagious. So once you start up and that's now the norm, that's what we'll see. And again, people can wear what they want to wear. I'm not judging it. Some people make it look good. But it's we have to understand that, that it's different type of energy. Now, Venus rules beauty. Venus, y'all know that, right? Venus rules beauty, but it's, even if Venus is in something like Capricorn, which is about, Venus in Capricorn is more about tradition, and like you would kind of be looking at like a traditional type of beauty type of thing, because Capricorn rules tradition. And when you look at someone's chart, Venus and Capricorn can mean like someone who prefers like a power couple type of situation, or someone that's the provider type of thing. Venus and Capricorn people can sometimes value career over money, things like that. But Venus only stays in a sign for what, 2 to 3 months, maybe something like that. Maybe even not. I think it's 28. I have to look this up. I'm sorry, I don't know the time. Like, I just feel like Venus has been in Gemini for a very long time, like since May, it feels like. So 2 months or so. I'll look that up. Anyway, my point being, Venus is not going to have as much of an influence on society because Venus changes more frequently than Neptune. Get what I'm saying? So that energy still matters, but we're talking about the societal thing, and Neptune is a generational planet. Therefore, it's going to have an impact on generations. Okay. What else do we see? And what was before that? So you had Neptune in Capricorn before Neptune in Aquarius. So what did you have? And one of my very, very favorite astrologers here on YouTube, Fernando Prudhomme, he talked about this as well, where he was like the Neptune and Capricorn generation, I believe is like, that's the one, that would be the one like before Neptune in Aquarius. Yeah. So like you had a lot of people making that generation that made money, younger folks, right? So like that hopes and that dreams. So Neptune, what sign Neptune is in it matters. Whereas Neptune and Capricorn might not have that same kind of like elusive compassion, spreading of acceptance, spreading of this ideal of what things should be, and it's light and fluffy, and this is what it should be, and we're okay with that. But it has a different type of energy. Now, cancel culture, not looking at objectivity. So Neptune and Pisces. So what we have now is we want things to be certain. So when anyone is stuck in their ideal world, they're not able to think as deeply as they could, right? So here's what you see with politics. First of all, not everyone has to be on the same page. It's overly extreme, right? Do you see what I'm talking about? Whatever people envision society should be like, it's like extremes in liberalism, extremes in conservatism, extremes. And you have people trying to be in the middle, progressive, or trying to say, hey, well, why can't we just vote for somebody who has this and that? Why does it have to be? Because then it's like, oh, you're a liberal, so these are all the things you agree on. You're conservative, these are all the things you agree on. It's like, and there's no room, and it's like it just seems like there's no room for anything else. And because of that, people are super lenient about their own beliefs. So people aren't even challenging their political beliefs in some ways. Some people are, but that's why you'll see like, why is that person agreeing with this person just because they're the same party? Neptune and Pisces energy kind of, people are in like a dream state almost about what humanity and humankind. And it doesn't make everybody nice. I think we have to understand Neptune and Pisces energy doesn't mean everyone's nice, but it means that like everybody's kind of like in this dream state, and Neptune and Pisces is a lack of structure. You have a lack of structure. Now we have a lack of understanding and thinking in a critical manner. Let's look at what's lacking here. What is the opposite sign of Pisces? Virgo. So you look at this and we don't really have any outer planets in Virgo. We don't. We're going to have Virgo season coming up. The sun's going to go in Virgo. Mercury is eventually going to go in Virgo this year. Venus is eventually going to go in Virgo, right? We have that happening. And the moon goes into Virgo throughout the month. But that's it. So what does that happen? So because we don't really have a lot of Virgo energy, we're lacking what balances Pisces out. Just like your opposite sign can balance you out. What would Virgo be doing? I'm sorry, my notes. Virgo's the opposite sign, so we can go to opposite sign when there's an excess of a particular energy. If we're not in reality, if we are so much in a dream world and what things should be and should look like, Virgo energy is the analysis, is the critical thinking of being strategic. Virgo energy is like, hey, yes, we'll cancel that person for sure. Wait, cancel them. Wait a minute. Is it because what they said was literally offensive? Got you. Or you just didn't like that one little thing that they said. Because Virgo is not going to be emotional. Pisces is sensitive. And Pisces energy is needed. This is not an attack on Pisces. Just like if we were in Neptune and Capricorn and Virgo for too long, that would be an issue too. Because then we were too caught up in what we want things to look like and we're too processy, right? So I'm not at all saying we can't have this energy. My point is that with Virgo, it would be different. Neptune and Virgo. So we do have to kind of embed a little bit of that critical thinking when we're thinking about things, because a lot of it is really idealism, what we want things to be like. We want it to be perfect. And because the Neptune is a cloud, it's not structured, it's not critical thinking. It's a cloud. And people sometimes can't poke holes at things. So you're seeing a lot of following behavior because people want to be overly compassionate to whatever their cause is. And that's why, regardless of what you think or what you're a part of, sometimes people aren't really asking the right questions, right? It's this overly lenient type of energy. and this following type of energy. Like, if I say this, I'm compassionate too. If I agree with you and I retweet you, I'm like, you know, and it's like, it's not real. Like, a lot of the things people are saying and retweeting and agreeing with, they're not actually doing anything in their everyday life that matches these things that they're saying they agree with, right? And what's happening is, because we want to be overly compassionate, right? We're people are more likely to say, let's cancel them because that's mean and that's horrible. We're lacking some of that critical thinking that we need in order to really see this. Because yes, we can cancel some people, but sometimes it's getting to be extreme. That some of these situations, I'll tell you who I canceled. Like, I'll be like, yeah, okay, if you disrespect who I am, bye. Like, if you don't recognize me as an important part of society, then I don't need to, you know what I mean? Like, whatever what I identify as, if that's not important, if who I am isn't important, then whatever, you know what I mean? Like, I don't see the point in supporting people who don't support me. I mean, that's pretty straightforward. I don't understand that. But my point is that there are some situations happening where we're now causing outrage for something that is not a cancelable offense. If we want to really take it there, everybody you worship, including your parents or your family, has some type of view that could get them canceled, because it's becoming so loose. See what I'm saying? Neptune and Pisces energy lacks structure. It's lacking structure. It's lacking a foundation, because the opposite sign, Virgo, of critical thinking, of analysis, of earthly energy. Okay, if we do this, we're going to have this outcome. If we do this, let's think about this. Let's stop. Let's process this before we act emotionally on something. And before we say, and you can definitely say, yes, this is nice. But how do we think about how we can do this in a way in which it makes more sense? For instance, Neptune and Virgo energy, a more balanced approach to this would be, Virgo's different, where Virgo energy would be, and I'm talking about Virgo because it's the opposite sign. And when we have too much of something, we need to look at the opposite sign because something's lacking. I want this. I dream of this. If you had Neptune and Virgo, would be like, I want this. I dream of this. Let me think about how to acquire this. Let's think about this, process this before we come to a decision, because Mercury is not about emotion. It's about the facts. Okay. And that is what you would see. Again, you have other transits going on here, Uranus and Taurus as well, where there's a jolt to foundations. So I would also look at where Uranus and Taurus is in your transit chart, is the area of your life right now where you're undergoing some change. You're undergoing some difference into what you had already established is being shaken up, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. And so just to kind of sum it up, Neptune and Pisces energy for too long without balance, without being checked, without critical thinking, what we have right now is we're not in a reality, right? We're not anchored. So Neptune and Pisces energy, again, it's beautiful. It's needed for compassion. It is not a rant against displacement, right? My kids have displacements. They were born during Neptune and Pisces, right? But we need to remain anchored sometimes. And the astrology helps you see areas where we're not really being balanced. And I was thinking about this because I'm like, why? Like, okay, yeah, cancel that person. Yeah, that person. Yeah. And it's like, sometimes it's like somebody did something really minor, or a person has like this great message, and then there's one thing they say, and it's not even offensive, but somebody decided it was offensive. And I'm just like, how far are we taking this, right? Like, how far are we taking this? Because there used to be very clear-cut things of what is offensive, but now it's like, I don't like the way you said that. You should have said this word, and you should have replaced this. And I'm like, dang, you would think it was a Virgo, right? The way you guys, not you guys, but people like act like Virgos are very critical, and I'm like, you would think that half these people canceling everybody was that, but no, it's because actually it's the opposite. The over compassionate, I want to be nice. Well, stop. You said that. Let me think about that. Yeah, I like the way you said it, but I don't think you really meant it like that, because if I look at your track record, you don't usually say things like that. Oh, you cleared it up. Cool. We're not really doing that. Society is not doing that. It's this following type of energy of, I just want to, follow whatever someone else is saying. That was it for Neptune and Pisces. Hopefully it made sense. But that was it for this video. Please make sure you like if you liked it, or if you have not subscribed, subscribe. And also, thank you to everyone who's been commenting on my videos. I try to get to my comments when I can, but it's a lot sometimes. And I like to make do all my comments at one time. So thanks for watching.